versus wants conversation, right? Like from a relationship standpoint, I think, to me, this is just my perception. Everybody has that need category, and then they have that want category from what they need and or want from their partner. And most times, depending on the person, it's kind of hard to kind of navigate how to fulfill both of those things. Needs, do I give them all this stuff that they say that they need, or do I focus on these wants? Is this what I really focus on? That's a hard thing to kind of determine, because as human beings, we're not going to be able to give like everybody everything and still have enough room for ourselves at the same time, right? Like, we have enough room for ourselves. So my premise on that is that, just my thought, needs will be a little bit more important than wants, because I think that needs are the thing that will sustain you with that person. If most, not all, but mostly all of your needs are being met, I think that, you'll be more prone to stay with that person. But that's just my thing. What do you guys think?
I agree. Needs take precedence, in my opinion.
I don't agree.
Let the games begin.
I'm just saying. I can't agree with that, and I believe that needs are the most important. But I think when it comes to people and their perceived happiness and comfortability, they want their wants to be addressed, at least addressed and met to a degree. I think it's half and half, to be honest, because if somebody wants something and you just ignore that and only give them what they need, they may not even realize that they need it to the degree that you think they need it. And as a result, they're going to feel like, because you're just not meeting any of their wants, that they don't really want you to be in their life. So it's if you're thinking as you, the person that's satisfying the wants and needs, it's like, yeah, let me just satisfy everything they need. But if you're thinking about them, and this is a world where people generally prioritize their wants a lot more than they should, meaning that they probably would want someone to do the same. If you're not prioritizing those and only focusing on their needs, then it could create conflict. I think half and half is the best way to go. You hit the needs that are really detrimental, you hit the wants that are really high. Someone really wants this thing, you try and give them that. And if someone really needs this thing, you try and give them that. Half and half. I think that's the safest way to play it. That's just my take. But definitely not all needs, no wants. I don't think the person would appreciate that. Yeah. That's my take.
That's a good swing.
Yeah.
I agree with Emmanuel, believe it or not.
Woo! Okay.
Let me record that.
Look at that.
I agree with Emmanuel.
Okay.
I think you need a balance somewhere between that, and not just give a person all they needs, because their wants are being neglected and they're gonna feel some type of way.
Yeah. I'm just curious though, because what if you sit down together and you talk about that, right? And you talk about, hey, these are some of the things that you may need from the other person, and then you also, kind of discuss your wants too. But I'm just trying to figure out though, like, what is actually going to keep you with that person, though, right? Like, because eventually, that need category is going to outweigh the wants that person is giving you, because those wants, to me though, I think those wants are like more short-lived. Like, they're very short-lived, but a need to me is something that could potentially push you away, right? Like, could potentially push you away from that person. So
but
I think it's kind of hard.
Balance between the two and not just totally neglect the wants, then I think it's better for the person that you're with, because they want something because they want it, right? You know, all right. So like it's I know I need this apple, but I want this cake. So I can eat half of the apple and half of the cake. Like they're gonna want it. And it's gonna feel like they're being neglected.
Yeah. So let's look at it from this side, and this is gonna be like the most drastic thing. Okay. So what if your partner says that they want an open relationship? And you look at it from a need category, is that something that they really need? Is an open, like an open relationship at that point? You know what I'm saying? Because what if an open relationship is just in their want category? It's not in their need category. So it's like, do you try to fulfill that want because they want to open?
It's a balance. I'm not saying fulfill every want. That's not what I'm saying. I said it's a balance. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying like we can pick and choose the wants. I didn't tell you go for every want that they want. That is a lie.
Okay. Okay.
But I'm saying like you can give a balance of it. Like if she say I want whatever bag, right? So she might give you like a choice of 3 bags. Then you pick the one of the bag. I ain't tell you go get no $2,000 bag, but if she got something that was a little bit cheaper, you know what I'm saying? She still wanted it, so it's a balance. I'm not saying every want should be addressed. It could be addressed, but that don't mean they get it.
Yeah, but do you think that every need needs to be addressed? So, if every want is not going to be addressed, do you think that every need should be addressed?
I mean, the needs are very important, so yes, they should be addressed. That don't mean they're gonna still get the need though. You as a human, you just can't give them everything they need.
I also think that sometimes needs aren't, the difference between needs and wants it's not distinguished. It's not always clearly distinguished, right? So sometimes we would categorize something as a need, but it's really not. It's a want. Sometimes we would categorize something as a want, but it's really not. It's a need. So that's why I say you can't just go all in on one side, because that person may not even realize that one of these wants that they have is really a need. And it really is something that may take a heavy toll on them if they're not getting it. So that's why I say half and half, because some wants are so strong that people may treat them as needs. In which case, if they're not getting them, then they're not going to be very, very happy in their relationship. So that's why I say half and half. You know, you kind of gauge it. You gauge whatever it is that they're looking for. You gauge their I guess their intensity towards having this thing, and those are the things you satisfy. Whether it's a need or a want, you know, or that's kind of how I would take it. It's about the person's passion and intensity behind having this thing. Sometimes I think it could get mixed between the wants and the needs.
So I'm gonna give you a prime example. A good friend of mine said it was her birthday, so she really wanted this purse, right? Because we both looked at this purse, but when she went to her husband, he went and bought her some tires. He was like, "You really needed some tires." She was like, "I didn't need them for my birthday though." And so I was saying, like, she was like, "I really wanted that purse for my birthday," and she felt some type of way. You know, I'm not saying not address the tires because she needed the tires, but she wanted her purse for her birthday. So I'm just saying, like, have a balance between the two.
Yeah. Okay.
And I guess it also determines if you're talking about, like, there's different levels of needs and wants. Some needs are like tangible, you know, materialistic.
Right.
Other needs are like emotional.
Right. You know,
physical needs. Mm-hmm. You know, so it can get so deep when it comes down to just the classification of it, you know, and some of these needs which some of these needs, emotional needs or physical needs, aren't even really needs at the end of the day. It just depends on how you classify needs, right?
Who determines if they're not in my physical, emotional?
Well, I guess it determines if how you would classify needs. Is needs what you need to survive, to live? Or is needs just something you really, really want with a lot of passion? Is needs like, it's different levels, okay? So we can say, you say need, like you need this to live? Or is it just something that you really, really, really want?
Yeah, but think about it in the context that we're talking about it from, though.
Right.
Like, we're talking about it from a relationship standpoint.
Right.
And basically, these are things that you may need from your partner. Right? So how you determine what you need from your partner is based on the conversations that you have with your partner. So if you get to a point where you're having 8, 9, 10 conversations about something that what you would classify as a need for you, right?
Right.
Because honestly, if you think about it, a person is not going to have 8, 9, 10 conversations about a want. Because eventually you go figure out how to get that want. Like whatever you have to do, you got to script, save, whatever you got to do, you go figure out how to get that want.
Right.
But that need, you can't do that the same way. Like you need that specifically from that person. Like you need something from that person. So that's what I'm saying. Like that's that difference there from a relationship standpoint. That's that difference.
Okay, so give me an example of 3 to 4 needs in a relationship, and then give me an example of 3 to 4 wants.
Transparency. Like,
transparency would be a need.
Through communication, transparency is that's a need. Like you have to be able to communicate with the person in a very transparent way where there's understanding. Like you both get a mutual understanding of what's going on. So I think that's a need. Okay.
Some people need a physical touch from their partner too.
Because that's the next thing is needs. It can vary from person to person, but the question is about should we satisfy a person's needs over their wants, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So what would be the example of some wants?
That threesome Josh talked about.
That's open relationship, yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I would say going on 2 or 3 vacations a month. That's a want.
Okay.
According to who, Josh, I might need them. It might be like life threatening if I don't go on 2, 3 vacations a month.
Okay.
It ain't nothing about that. It ain't nothing about that. That's life threatening. Like you just try to get out of there. Okay, that's what you gotta do. It ain't nothing about that. Nah.
Okay.
Okay.
I might need to do that, Josh.
Oh, okay.
Josh, who determines if that a need or a want, Josh?
Hey, like I said, if you look at the baseline from from a relationship wise, what a person requires to stay connected with a person in that relationship, right? Like what you require from the other person to stay connected, committed, whatever that would look like, that's your need, right? So if you don't have that specific thing in that particular relationship with that particular person, right, it's going to cause you to feel a certain kind of way every single time you don't feel that.
Receive.
That is, right? So that's essentially kind of what we're talking about is what keeps you in the game with that person. Like, what is it that keeps you locked into that relationship?
I think the needs are definitely based off of what you're saying. I think the needs are definitely key. I still don't believe wants can be neglected for so long. But I think that if I had to pick one, I would definitely prioritize the needs, for sure. I don't think you can just go on one side and stay on one side for forever. I think that because if sometimes it may be some wants that someone has that are never fulfilled that could lead them to step out, or even though they've got these needs, it happens all the time. People will have everything they need and then they're stepping out because of some wants that may have not been met. So I don't think one can go in totality without the other, but I think it's definitely at the root of everything. You want to prioritize the needs.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I was going to say something about that too. Because if a person steps out, knowing the fact that they're getting everything that they requested that they need from a person, just from that standpoint, that bothers me a little bit, because it's like, because you're right, I see that a lot. Like, I see that, like, people, they have something good, right, within a person, and they choose to be, and I call it greed. Like, I think it's greedy, right? Like, I call people that's it, it's greed. Like, you choose to, do extra even though you already have a lot. You know what I'm saying? Like, you already have more than enough. And to me, it's sad. Like, that's a very sad thing, because it's like you create more damage than that actually needs to happen from a relationship. And that bugs me when you say it bugs me. It does, because I see it a lot.
Yeah. And I think what happens is people get content or comfortable with the needs being fulfilled, but don't realize that there's a lot that goes into that consistent fulfillment from a need standpoint. So needs are being consistently fulfilled. We're happy with that. Great. Now I don't even think about my needs because they're always met. Now let's focus on these wants, which you may not be able to give me in the degree that I want them, because maybe it takes a lot to fulfill my needs. And now, because I'm focused on my wants, because my needs are just consistently met and you're not fulfilling those wants, now I'm stepping out. And I think that's the thought process behind it. I don't think... they're just bad people. I think, it could be greed or a lack of awareness.
Oh, it's greed. Okay, like, it's greed. Let's go ahead and put this out there.
You gotta realize greed is. It could be greed.
It is. Because think about it, right? Like, you specifically set up here and had a whole conversation with your partner about, I need all these list of needs right here, like A, B, C, D, E, and they fulfilling all these A, B, C, D. They doing everything that you request from them. And you still gonna step out? Oh, no.
But hey, at the same time, they giving you this whole list of wants too.
Hey,
they giving you this list of wants too, and you not fulfilling them.
Okay, are you asking them to be Superman or Superwoman? Like, think about it. What are you asking them to be here? Okay. Because think about it. From a relationship standpoint, people got whole jobs. They got family, friends. They got kids. Like, are you asking them not to sleep? Right?
They're
Like,
not asking you to do nothing. They stepping out. They're not asking you to not. They know you doing as much as you can, but hey, buddy, I need a little bit more because these are some wants that I have that are not being met. You know, so you doing as much as you can. So you know what? I'm not gonna stress you with this. I'm just gonna get my sneaker link. I'm going out to to my little side piece. I think that's what goes on, man. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying people always want more, right? That's just like, I don't know, just in our blood. People always want more, so sometimes that's kind of where it leads. That's just kind of where it leads.
I
want to hear you.
Like, you being very, what do you think?
I'm happy that you re-explained the topic because it was not making sense. Sorry, respectfully. It wasn't making sense, when we were talking all these other things, when the topic, in my opinion, was talking about relationships, like you said, those needs. Needs to me are, the necessities, those requirements, those things that, even if you get a want here and a want there, if those needs are not being met, like the wants, they're not going to mean as much. So for me, my answer still stands that needs absolutely take priority over wants. I'm not sure where it's stated that just because a person is focusing on the needs that they're neglecting their wants, that's just because a person is prioritizing, it doesn't mean they're neglecting, this completely other different set of factors or this other list of things that a person may still want. But it's just the key word is priority. You're going to focus on those things that either mean more or mean the most to a person. And then you trickle down from there. When we talk about this topic, I imagine or have this visual of, like if you're at a wedding or you're at an event and how they stack those champagne glasses and you start from the top. To me, your needs are at the top. And until your needs are met, you really don't care about your wants. The wants are just nice to have. So once your needs are met, then that's when the wants are like, okay, now we can start, branching out a little bit more. So for me, needs absolutely take priority, but just because they take priority, it doesn't mean wants are being neglected. It's just being smart and methodical about things.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And I agree with Nrgy if you're talking about a mature person. I'm just being honest. Like, for a mature person, that is exactly how you should think. But sometimes I think we get carried away in focusing on things that aren't really necessary more than those things that are. And I think that's where the divide happens. I would love for a person to just be completely content with all their needs met. And, then we start working towards the wants as we can. But I've found that people want those wants a lot more than I think they should in comparison to some of their needs. It's just like it's like the wants, it's not as important, but if they're not being met at a certain level, then now they're important. Like, you're not meeting any of my wants. Yeah, I know I have these needs, but I need some of these wants met. And they kind of coincide sometimes. So you just can't neglect them entirely, but you can't prioritize them, more than the needs, because if the needs ain't met, you really not in the game. But if the wants is not met, you will get moved out of the game, or someone will start looking for other avenues to satisfy those wants while trying to, which is what Josh was alluding to, that makes him really mad, being greedy.
So should we not look at needs as being, because, needs doesn't have to be a long list, which means it may not take long for the wants to start being met. Or it doesn't mean that as a need is being met, a want can be being fulfilled, simultaneously as well. Again, I think using the term neglect is, a little stretching it, because just because you're focusing on a person's needs doesn't mean that you're neglecting, these other things that they, just are nice that, that they want. I was going to say something about whenever it comes to those needs, again, the list doesn't have to be long. Would it be fair to look at needs as being those non-negotiables or those deal breakers? And if that's the case, there's only a few, like Josh was giving us some examples, transparency, someone being, honest, someone being faithful, those could just be basic needs and they're being met. And then their wants could then, also still be being met.
I think sometimes these needs, they sound really simple, but then in practice, they do require a lot of effort. Like, like transparency. All right. Okay. Yeah. But maybe that involves a lot of communication. Maybe that involves a lot of, effort to say this or do that and be this and be that. And that may take a lot out of someone. Not to say that it can't be done, but in conjunction with 5, 6, 7, 8 other needs, because there's needs that go beyond, most people will have at least 5 to 6 needs. I think that's safe to say, that they deem needs, right? So these are normally not always things that we're just geared to do. So in those cases, it's an extra effort being made to satisfy these needs. And I believe that, sometimes, and I think it can be done simultaneously. Don't get me wrong. I'm not here to say that, you can't satisfy needs while satisfying wants, but I just think sometimes I don't want us to minimize the effort that it takes to fulfill someone's needs when it comes to a whole nother human being. Because it's not small. This is, yeah.
But you describe things that should be standard, right? Yes or no? I mean, you describe things that are basic communication, putting effort into a relationship, being transparent. That's basically, not lying, telling the full, what I'm saying? Like, shouldn't that be what a person comes with automatically? So therefore the effort shouldn't seem so, so far-fetched to where it's like, man, I don't know if I'm gonna be able to do this, Like, would you even want to be with someone who can't even fulfill those basics or those standards?
I agree with you, but I do believe that you got to think about it this way. Those standards aren't even being practiced unless you're in a relationship. Nobody is transparent to the degree that they need to be transparent in a relationship unless they're in a relationship. Nobody is communicative to the level that they need to be in a relationship unless they're in a relationship. And sometimes it's not as easy as just flipping the switch on and being relationship transparent or relationship communicative versus single person, free energy or free Aphrodite, communicative. It's a difference. It's not the same.
Is it, or is it a character thing? Is it a character thing of just the person being someone who's honest, someone who's not going to go out and cheat because they just have decided that that's who they are. That's what they have embraced. That's what they have worked on in their single phase. Right. So therefore they're not coming into a relationship having to change. Because when you're describing it the way that you're doing, when people do it the way that you're describing it, that's where issues and conflict and tension starts being created, because that's where people feel like, oh, this person is trying to change me because they're not coming into a relationship already ready.
So this is the thing. If it's 11 o'clock at night and somebody calls me, can I answer this call and not tell you anything? Because I sure can if I'm not in a relationship. If it's 11 o'clock and I want to run and get some food from Waffle House, can I do that without telling you? Can I tell you, can I do that? No. There's a lot of things that change. We're not just free to do whatever we want now. We can't act like there's no change.
I'm trying to figure out where you're going with this. Like, that's what I'm trying to figure out.
What I'm going with this is that there is a shift from single life to a relationship that could take some getting used to if someone hasn't been in that, that environment where they had to be that communicative. if you got a side piece, you're not going to be as transparent with that person about your life and everything that's going on. You're not. It's just not. So some of this stuff does require some effort to be at par for the other individual in the relationship. And that is, yeah, we would like for that to just be automatic. But for some people, it's not. They just got to get used to it.
Yeah, but this is the thing. You know, when you enter into a relationship with someone, it's a kind of a contract. You know what I'm saying? Like both of you have said that, hey, I like you. I want to be in a relationship with you. I'm committed to making this relationship work. Whether they say it or not, they entered into a contract with another adult to say that, hey, I want to be in a relationship. So whether they're prepared for that contract that they signed or not is not on the other person. Like, it's not, this is not Build-A-Bear. You know what I'm saying? Like they have to come in ready to go, like ready to function in a relationship.
So the assumption is everybody in a relationship is ready to be in a relationship.
Okay. The reason why I say that though, and you said that everybody that's in a relationship is ready to be in a relationship. They signed up for a relationship. Like nobody held a fictional gun to this version. And say, hey, you go date me. Oh, you go be in this relationship with me. They verbally out of their mouths said that, hey, I want to be in a relationship with you. Right? So when they enter into their relationship, and what you're saying, long story short, they may not be ready for a relationship. Again, how does anybody supposed to know that besides the person that's not ready for the relationship supposed to know that, you know? So what your partner is asking you for, which is basic stuff, right? So better communication, more physical intimacy, or more spending time together, or something like that. I mean, essentially, they are straightforward things that you would want from a person. So if somebody come up to you, especially if you're dating this person, say they need those 3 specific things from you, it either can go yes or no. Like, you can do it or you can't do it or whatever.
I agree.
And most times it comes down to a choice, whether you're going to prioritize making that need happen or not.
I agree.
And that's essentially what it turns into, is how people prioritize what they hear, right? Depending on who their partner is and how it's being related.
Right.
Yeah. So that's what happens to people right there when it comes to fulfilling somebody's needs. When you sit down there with your partner and they're like, can you fulfill these ABCD things for me? You take this information into your head and you start logically thinking about it. Like, they want me to do this, they want me to do that, they want me to do this, right? And most times when people logically go through these things, they're analyzing. They're trying to figure out, most people go, why do they want me to do these things, right? Like, think about it. Like, why do they want me to fulfill these things for me? Which you shouldn't do that, okay? People do it, but you shouldn't do that part, because they want you to do that part because this is something that is a concern for them, right? Because from a relationship standpoint, obviously it's reciprocal, right? So you're going to have your opportunity to raise your needs too. So you would want the other person to, try to provide those things for you, which means that you have to in turn try to provide those things for them. But that's the thing, right? Like, that's what people kind of get stuck at, is sometimes people overthink stuff. Like, you just overthink it. It's not that complicated. It's not.
At all.
It's not.
People make it more difficult than what it really has to be.
It is.
Because they want to come up with all these different scenarios but what about, like, no, just keep it simple.
Yeah. If somebody wants you to talk to them more, prioritize talking to them more, right? Like if somebody wants to have sex 2-3 times a week, prioritize trying to figure that out, right? Like that's the thing, right? Like people make excuses for the weirdest things sometimes, like they do. And that's the thing.
Okay.
They do. People make excuses for the weirdest things, but you turn around and get mad when people go talk to other people about the excuses that you make it, right? Like, think about that. Don't get mad when the person's not doing anything about it. Think about that. Like if you're not trying to address it, even though your partner has brought it up to you, why get upset? Like why get mad? Like because the obligation of both people that signed this fictional contract is for both parties to fulfill that need.
Right.
I agree.
That's the premise.
That's why the getting to know a person process is so important. You find out what the person wants, what their likes are, what their dislikes are. You find out if you can deal with it or not. Then you let them know what you're about, and then they decide if they can deal with it or not. So using your example, Emmanuel, can you just up and leave? Well, find out. Ask that question. See if that would fly with that person that you're considering making this agreement with. Again, it's not that, it doesn't have to be that difficult. I understand that, there are a lot of relationships out here that aren't set up that way, but it doesn't mean that, it can't be done. It doesn't mean that it's hard to reach or achieve.
Which part is not hard to achieve?
The part about, fulfilling someone's needs, because if you learn who they are, you assess your values versus their values, assess your non-negotiables versus their non-negotiables. You're communicating with each other, you're getting to know each other. And if you're both being fully upfront about who you are, what you want, what you desire, and vice versa, and then once you receive this other person's needs, wants, their desires, their non-negotiables, and once you receive it, if you're honest with them and yourself, and you both then make a logical and wise decision, then that's what I mean. It's not hard to achieve.
Yeah.
It's doable.
Yeah. So do you think?
I agree, it's doable. It's not. Is that feasibly doable? For like, the thing is, most people aren't doing it, right? So that's where my focus is at. Why is it that most people are not able to do this? Like, and then that's where I start thinking about, well, is it because they don't want to? Is
Correct.
It because needs are always changing? Is it because there are wants that are camouflaged? There are needs that are camouflaged as wants, so people are going unfulfilled? Because most people are not fulfilling all the needs of their partner. They're not. Nrgy describes everything sounds great. But when we go out into the real world, this isn't happening like we would like to think it is. And that's what I can't ignore. And that's where I'm coming from. I think it's simple too. I really do. I really do. Or maybe people aren't communicating. But I just know there's a divide when it comes to needs and wants being met and fulfilled, based off of what I've seen.
So is the question for tonight, go ahead, Josh, sorry.
Go ahead.
No, so then what's the question for tonight? What are we talking about? What are we answering? Is it what should people do? Should they prioritize needs or wants? Or is the question, what are people doing? Because at this point, we're talking in two totally different directions. If we're not on the same page about, okay, what's the question for tonight? What's the question for this episode?
I think the question is, should they prioritize? I think, if you correct me if I'm wrong, should they prioritize needs over versus which should they prioritize?
So if we're talking should, then you're coming from a different angle. You keep coming from an angle of, well, yeah, people should, but they're not. But if we're talking about shoulds, then the conversation
should be need.
Right.
So yeah, my angle was that their needs camouflage as wants. So that was my only side angle, which is why I said initially that we should focus on those things that people are more passionately driven to have. That's what I initially said. And I said that based off of my thinking that people do have needs, but sometimes they're presented as wants, but people really do need these things. So that's why I said, half and half at first. But I did say that needs are most important. So I agree with you and Josh on that ultimately.
Look at Josh.
Sorry, I'm agreeing. I'm agreeing that needs are most important, but I'm just saying sometimes they're not always clear. The distinction is not always clear.
Hey. In my head, I'm like, how do we get back here? Like, how do we get back here? Okay.
Hey, I'm done.
Okay. Oh my gosh. Honestly, it was like taking a roundabout way to the same conclusion. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
like, it's just like
it took a roundabout way. I'm one of those people. That ask them why they need what they need. You know what you were talking about earlier? I'm like, why do you need this?
Oh my God.
Why do you need me to talk to you?
I don't understand why you need this. You know?
Oh man. Oh, I love it. It's great.
That's funny.
I'm one of those people.
Oh man. I got a headache though. Oh man. Needs versus want. I tell you. Ooh. Oh man. Fulfill these needs. I need somebody. Fulfill these needs.
Oh goodness.
Oh yeah. But seriously, I think that's where this conversation kind of started out. Is the main reason why, and some of the reasons why people even consider like any form of like coaching, counseling, especially from a couple standpoint, is needs. Like specific things aren't being addressed.
Right.
Like they're not being addressed at all. Like, and that's the premise of needs versus want, is that over time the needs versus wants, or the wants versus needs, the wants, they fall off. Like they fall off over time, and all you're gonna have left is your needs, like what you need from a person. And most times people they want to feel like they're valued. They want to feel like they're heard. They want to feel like they matter. Like, to me, I think that premise of need goes further beyond just, I guess, tangible stuff. It's like you want to feel important to a person. Especially if you're with a person, you want to feel like they value you. like you matter to them. So I think that when people watch this particular like episode, hopefully they kind of gather that whole point about really analyzing what's important to them. Like, what is it that you ultimately need from your partner? And if that need is being addressed or met or whatever, and if it's not, have that conversation again, right? Like, have that conversation, like really talk about it in like an open forum, so that those things can be addressed. Because that's the main reason why people like end up in those situations where they want to seek professional help, is that people stop listening. Like, people stop listening to each other. People stop understanding the fact that these things need to be addressed. Like, it's not mandatory. Like, it's mandatory. Like, you need to address this stuff. Like, it's not going away. And like I said, I think that sometimes, depending on the type of relationship people are in, it's just too much complacency. Like, people being complacent. Like, not making things a big deal when they are. But that's my premise, okay? Like, you know, maybe I'm just kind of overthinking it, like somebody I know. But
Who?
But
Who?
You know, Emmanuel down here was overthinking a little bit early.
I was trying to ignore him, but he had to say my name. So. Yeah.
Oh, goodness.
I'm trying to ignore him.
Don't ignore me, dang it. Dude, don't ignore me. But did we miss anything from this conversation? Or did we get all of it? Did we get it? Did we get it all?
Yeah. I think so. Clarity is what I think we needed, and we got it.
Okay. Just want to make sure we got it all, okay? I didn't want to leave nothing on the plate, you know? Aphrodite, we good?
You good.
You stopped saying stuff for like that last 15 minutes. You were like, you in there.
I'm just listening, and in all honesty, like, once we kind of shifted, you know, with more clarity, then I can understand where you and Nrgy is coming from. You know, so once we shifted the conversation and it really clarified some things on the needs versus the wants, you know, and we started naming like the transparency, the physical touch, the all those things that is really, you know, once you think about it, like, some of them are very basic. And I know we say it's simple, but I can understand when you say some people don't understand it. It's just that simple. Like, we really need that, and it's just that simple. Like, when they tell you they need that extra 15 minutes of your time, I do agree with you when you say it's about priority. Are you going to really prioritize that for your partner? Or it's just like, oh, we just going to give them what we're going to give them?
Yeah.
So it clarified, it cleared a lot of things up.
Yeah. Okay. All right. A great way to end the episode. Adding perspective with Josh. I'm Josh.
I'm Coach Nrgy.
I'm Aphrodite.
Manual.
Fill those needs.